Salutations, ladies and gentlemen, the Knife Raven here, back again with another video. And it's been a while since I have last uploaded a video, and it's a nice dusk sunset, very beautiful outside, and the beauty is, in fact, interrupting the lines of this table, as you can probably see. And let's hope that doesn't have too serious an effect on the lighting. But nonetheless, what is today's video subject going to be? Well, after a lot of pondering, I came to the conclusion that there is really only one correct decision. And that is to discuss, well, a knife pattern as a whole, but specifically one version of that pattern. And that is the HalfCongress. Now, the HalfCongress is a very, very interesting pattern, and I say that a lot. But in particular, this pattern is quite well known as being the pattern of knife carried by Abraham Lincoln now, before you correct me. His was not a HalfCongress, I should specify. His was a full Congress. In fact, it was quite the hybrid, as it had 6 blades as opposed to the usual 4. And the HalfCongress features 2. So this is the grandchild of his knife. 6 blades, 4 blades, 2 blades. Now, the HalfCongress is a smaller and just generally more elegant and slim version of the pattern, but it still features some key traits that the original has. Now, I have one Congress, only one, unfortunately, and I will present it to you here. This is the only Congress I have, besides the one before you, and this is made by Boker. Now, I have to do a re-review on this video, on this knife, pardon me, because the video I originally did was rather complimentary. And back in my early days of reviewing, which would be about 2 years ago now, I was only interested in being the positive reviewer. I only cared about the good parts of a knife, and I really didn't see any flaws when I should have. And while it is still good to maintain an overall positive attitude, even when reviewing the most horrendous pieces of garbage in cutlery, well, I figured this knife deserves a re-review because there were a lot of things about it that, despite its beauty, it unfortunately heavily lacks in the quality department. Now, this knife, which I will use to compare it more in the video, is not the main feature here. This is part of my continuing series of Antique Chats. And Antique Chats was something I started back on my old channel, probably about 2 years ago. And it was little short reviews and discussions of vintage knives that I often knew less about than the viewer. And I used it more as an opportunity to attempt to bring people into the comment sections and discuss with them about the knives being featured so I could learn more about them and maybe share whatever knowledge I had. And this is going to be on a HalfCongress made by Shapleigh, or Shapleigh. And this is based on the, albeit small print, a St. Louis, Missouri made knife, which is interesting. I don't remember any other knives coming out of there. And it features the classic configuration of a HalfCongress, which is a Sheepsfoot, and a pen blade, which is also known as a small spear point. I don't know how old this knife is, but I can assume probably before the turn of the century. It seems very well put together, and the lasting quality on it is surprising. It has very strong spring tension, even after however many years it has been around, and that shows signs of a quality knife, if the springs have remained snappy, even after a good decade or, well, 3 or 5, depending on the knife. As you can see, compared to a normal Congress, this knife is significantly shorter, and it only has 1 layer instead of 2, and because of that, there is a noticeable difference in the width of this knife. The bolsters seem different. This one is stainless steel with some nice working in it, whereas the bolster here is nickel silver and is just polished. There is nothing to it. No grinds, no cuts, nothing. Just a flat bolster. Now, the handles here seem to be made of either, well, one of three things, and again, this is where my knowledge begins to fade a little. Aside from not knowing much about the company, besides they've been around for quite some time, I don't know the handle material featured here. Now, it looks to be either one of three things to me, and that is mother of pearl, which would be nice, pearl acrylic, which also, I suppose, would be a little less fancy than mother of pearl, but still definitely quite elegant. And the third would be some other form of plastic material of a less expensive variety. And that could be Bakelite or something along the lines, but I don't think it would be that. To me, this looks more like a pearl-styled acrylic, or if I'm really lucky, genuine mother of pearl. I got this for 20 Canadian dollars at a antiques and gun show. I frequent those and tend to pick up a lot of very interesting stuff from them. But this knife caught my eye. I had been searching through a familiar vendor and the wares being sold. And this knife I had seen before and I'd kind of considered purchasing, but I never went through with it until now. And I'm very happy that I did. Let's look at that blade. We have a very nice mirror polished Sheepsfoot design, although I'd almost argue this is becoming very close to a Lambsfoot, although I like seeing Lambfoots in everything because I like the pattern. We have a nice big nail nick here, so it's very easy to open. Pinching is not really an option, unfortunately, but the nail nick is more than big enough to accommodate any nail size. Very strong half stops, very positive. You can see my hand actually shakes a little. This is a very strong spring. And I'd probably give this knife, on the half stop, hello Alice, I would probably say this is about a, pardon my cat, she's very vocal today. Yes, Alice, I didn't leave you. Hello. I'm doing a video. I'll be with you in just a second. Anyways, that aside, very strong half stop here. You're looking at about probably about a 7 or a 6. 6 or a 7 for the half stop, and then for the fully open position, I'd say about a 5, which is still very good for such a small knife. The pen blade, which is harder to reach because of a smaller nail nick. Oh my goodness, quite difficult actually to get in there. There we go. That's about a 5, maybe a 4, I'd say. And then the open position, also about a 4. The pen blade is in worse condition. It seems more scratched, more heavily used. Come on, you can focus. You can focus. There you go. Much more scratched, but there's still quite a bit of blade left, although it has been sharpened a fair bit. This one also has taken a bit of sharpening, but not to the same level. There seems to be a bit of staining at the front, which would almost suggest carbon steel, although it's rare to see carbon steel in such good shape, even after a short period of time if it hasn't been oiled. But again, very minuscule blade play, but nothing a quick tightening of the bolsters couldn't really solve. Well, the pivot, I should say. In regards to the pen blade, which is going to still be a pest to open. There we are. No blade play whatsoever on this side. Very, very sturdy. And as for blade scratching, I can understand that that would be a concern for some, but with equal end pen knives in particular, running on one spring, it is very common to get blade rub, whether you like it or not. And you can see they did a very, very nice job of attempting to alleviate or kind of nullify that, but it's not done quite to the same level as some, say, GEC. And even GEC, I've encountered blade rub on an equal end penknife of mine from GEC. So almost no knife is safe from blade rub when there are multiple blades in such a configuration, although it can be done. The liners almost look dished, although there does seem to be a bit of gapping going on here. Is that gapping? It might not be. It might actually just be a scratch. I don't know. I'm going to have to see if there's any light shining through. No? No light on either side. All right, well, no gapping on this knife whatsoever. Smooth spring. Again, the only blade play is a little bit up here. Springs are very good. Positive half stops. Nice polish while they lasted. Pins are very flush, which are made of brass, just like the liners. Spring, again, it seems to be carbon steel due to the bit of patina forming. And again, the handles are in fairly nice shape, albeit the transitions to the bolsters may not be perfect. Actually, they are very nice. I was expecting them to be more coarse, but no, very nice overall. Except maybe that one right there. But yeah, very lightweight, very pocketable, UK legal, of course. Positive springs, nice half stops. Presumably a decent steel if it lasted without disintegrating. Again, scratching as to be expected on an equal end penknife of this caliber. But overall, a very nice USA-made knife, and I really like the bolster treatment. Now, comparing it to a brand new quality German-made Boker Congress, you can see that springs on this knife are, well, not nearly as strong. They also stick up a little. You have to manually push them down. Actually, look at this. You can manually push your springs down. We have a very terrible case of blade wrap right there. Don't know if the camera can pick that up, but there is some serious blade chipping in that center right there. You see it? Very, very poor. Blade play already. Pretty sure it had blade play when I first talked about it, except on this blade, which admittedly has a very nice spring. This one is very lazy. The spring is really not there at all. Very little response to it. Transition from the spring to the blade is very poor, as you can see. And blade straightness is not particularly good, and I could even excuse it if it meant that the blades were all free of scratching. But I don't believe I can say that, as I forget which blade it was on, but I believe there is a bit of blade rub. Was it on this one? I feel like it was on this one. Ah, it was on the pen blade. It's not terrible, and it's a little hard to see, but there are some scratches beginning to form here. Yeah. Unfortunately. And as for, another thing that is very concerning about this knife is the fact that this blade wiggles in the open position when all blades are open. And it doesn't even close all the way. You have to manually push it down. Again, a full re-review of this will come later, but I just wanted to use it as an example. HalfCongress versus full Congress, 4 blades versus 2, skinny versus thick, 2 springs versus 1, 1 Sheepsfoot and 1 pen versus 2 Sheepsfoot, 1 coping, which is a small Sheepsfoot, and 1 pen. And yeah, German made apparently. Again, full review and explaining the whole very confusing description of this knife versus USA made. I definitely favor this one, and this one was used. So anyway, that will be that. Very nice little knife. I really like the handles. I think it's an excellent knife. It's very snappy, very well made, and I just absolutely love it. It's a great little knife, and I don't know, I think this might be mother of pearl, but pearl acrylic is the more likely of the two. Great steel. I think I might actually sharpen this one and give it a go, because it's not the dullest used knife I've ever bought. It seems like someone actually took care of this. And I think I'm going to oil it, give it a sharpen, and see how it performs as a light EDC backup. Very curious to see how that will be, and stay tuned for this dumpster fire of a knife. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. This has been the Shapleigh HalfCongress. Oh, with possibly dished liners. I almost forgot to mention that. And aside from the slightly proud spring, this is a very nice little knife. I really like it. So, thank you very much for watching. This has been the Shapleigh HalfCongress in Pearl Acrylic / Mother of Pearl. And this is Antique Chats and the Knife Raven, as always, signing off. Goodbye.